Hello, YouTube channels, True Health Seekers. This is Mary Esther Miranda Gilbert back again for another exciting, informative bit of information for all of you out there. And if you're new to the YouTube channel, welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming back, those of you who have been looking at the videos lately and who have subscribed to the YouTube channel. So that part is free, so feel free to subscribe. And if you like what you see tonight, please hit the like button. That puts the video in front of many, many other people who are looking for this kind of life-saving, life-changing health information. So here I am with my trusty members. We're going to give you some great information tonight. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And oops, I forgot to get my document up. One moment, it'll take me just a second here. In my labyrinth of computer files. All righty, here we go. Let me go ahead and share this document so you can see it. Everyone should be able to see that, right?
Yep.
Okay, super. All righty, so yeah, the True Health Mastery Institute of Holistic Personal Health Management presents tonight the subject of dementia, the scientific studies revealing the effective healing nourishment for starving, damaged brain cells. We're going to go into all the different causes that the scientists and the medical profession have noticed and found as to the causes of dementia. And that's a general term. You know, what happens at the micro cell level is what we'll be going over tonight. Now, as a disclaimer, I want to remind everyone, I am not a medical doctor. I'm a nutritional science investigator and research writer. I dive into the scientific literature and I pull out the most credible peer-reviewed studies on the subject matter that I present every week. So we're not here to try to be doctors. We're not going to make any claims to treat or prescribe or anything like that, or diagnose or anything like that. I'm going to give you the scientific research information, peer-reviewed studies from around the world that present this information as always. Okay, so to go on here. So what is dementia? It's an overall term that describes a group of symptoms like abnormal brain changes, memory loss, a decline in thinking skills or cognitive abilities. It affects behavior and feelings and relationships. Also, Alzheimer's disease is a form of dementia, and it's the most common form of dementia. That accounts for 60 to 80% of dementia cases, and it's one of the leading causes of death among seniors in the USA. According to the Alzheimer's Association, 1 in 3 seniors is dying of Alzheimer's disease or other form of dementia. Currently, there are over 6 million Americans suffering from Alzheimer's, and it's projected to rise to over 13 million by 2050. And I, in my position of having done scientific research and produced nutritional protocols that have helped my clients for over 45 years, I am working very hard to prevent this dire statistic from happening. And by attending the Institute meetings and by watching these videos and sharing this information, you are going to help me save millions of lives. So how about that for a mission? Alrighty, so, seriously, we want to totally avoid that terrible, terrible statistic. And of course, 2050 is a long way away, but we are going to make sure between now and then, and people who will live beyond us, right, that will continue to have this knowledge to never allow that terrible statistic to take over our population. Anyhow, okay, vascular dementia or vascular cognitive impairment. So this is the second most common cause of dementia, and it occurs due to microscopic bleeding and blood vessel blockage in the brain. It gradually worsens due to multiple minor strokes or other small blood vessel damage, leading to widespread damage. So it does progress over time. And that's why sometimes people don't really notice it happening. It's so gradual and it seems to come on suddenly, right? It seems like someone loses their memory more and more, but relatively recently. They don't realize that this is something that starts years before. So there's multiple brain changes that occur simultaneously in a condition known as mixed dementia, and that's characterized by abnormal protein deposits going on in the brain and in the blood vessels, blood vessel problems, or vascular dementia. Dementia with Lewy bodies, now that's a scientific term, and here's a photograph down here below. Someone did a electron micrograph, photograph of the brain, and these are the little blockages that occur inside the microcirculation of the brain. So the Lewy bodies are a type of progressive dementia that leads to a decline in thinking, reasoning, and independent functioning. It may include spontaneous changes in attention and alertness, recurrent visual hallucinations, fluctuating cognition that is delirious, REM sleep behavior disorder. They can't sleep very well. They don't get into a deep enough sleep to get into the REM cycle, which is so healing, and rejuvenating. They experience slow movement, tremors, or rigidity. Problems interpreting visual information. Autonomic or autonomic nervous system, malfunctions that normally control sweating, blood pressure, heart rate, and digestion. So it's not just the brain and the nervous system that's affected, because it's the nervous system that's in contact with all of these different body systems, that it's going to affect their functioning as well. And that includes Parkinson's disease. That's a form of dementia as well. So these Lewy bodies can be found in both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease dementia. And this is according to the Alzheimer's Association. And you'll notice the citation reference there. At the end of this document, those of you who don't know, I always present the scientific research data that I find. Okay, now there's some statistics. Dementia affects about 25 million people worldwide. It's estimated that by year 2050, here's another different source that said the same thing, that there will be 115.4 million people with this condition. So this one is much more dire. Sometimes people who collect statistics don't come up with the same number, but that's even scarier, isn't it? So the cause, scientific consensus is that the cause is not well understood and that there is no effective medical treatment for reversing this condition. Now, what I'm going to present to you tonight is the result of the scientific data that I examined very carefully and gathered the most credible scientific research out there in the world. And also, I can correlate that with my years of experience in helping clients to regain their memory. And the set of nutrient factors that I will show you tonight will show you just how amazing the right nourishment at the cell level can do. Okay, however, the condition manifests at the accumulation of something called amyloid beta peptide deposits, and these are plaques, and the formation of neurofibrillary tangles or of tau protein in the brain. So sometimes when the body does its repair work, it forms these proteins, and they can be fibrous, or they can be in the form of these plaque deposits or deposits. So I'm going to show you tonight just what can dissolve those very same things. So problems with Western medicine approaches are that pharmacological treatments usually have adverse effects that can worsen the health of the patient. Now, this is a dilemma that many, medical people know about, but they don't have the nutritional science training background. I think medical students only get a few hours of, nutrition in their complete training. So they're sorely lacking in this whole genre of information. Holistic alternative solutions. Okay, so peer-reviewed studies show that certain nutritional interventions may slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease and improve cognitive function and quality of life. There exists time-proven empirical evidence of effective indigenous botanicals that confirm scientific research findings. So here we have thousands of years of healers over time, applying the botanicals on Earth to their patients. I guess they call them their patients. So these alternative medical systems really aren't alternative at all. They've been here a lot longer than Western medicine has, which has only been about 200 years. So research on animal subjects shows a relationship between nutrition and the biochemical causes of Alzheimer's disease. Researchers have shown how a nutritional approach can improve dementia conditions. Ongoing research is revealing more scientific evidence and is increasingly being recognized as a fundamental solution. So they're catching up with the indigenous healers throughout the world in different cultures that have known this all along. So there's a dietary role in Alzheimer's disease, and this is where I have a lot of experience in for the last 45 years, diving into that scientific research and producing nutritional protocols for people with this problem and watching them get well and puzzling their doctors, okay? This is not something that we want to get angry about. This is something that we have to urgently help educate the medical profession. This is a huge hole in their knowledge. And we need to all bridge the gap of this misinformation and this informational void that is present on both of these professions. So, okay, now I forgot where I was. Okay, protein calorie deficiency strongly correlate with cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease, whereas adequate nutrition significantly has improved cognitive function and psychological status in the elderly. Improved nutrition was found to improve sleep quality. I can vouch for this. This is very true. High-fat dietary patterns, along with a high glycemic load in Western diets, are known risks for neurodegeneration. And that is so true. When I had clients come visit me in my office, I would note down what they were eating. And over time, I was able to recognize symptoms that led back to certain things that they had been eating that were wrong in the diet. So I have a whole video, everyone, on the good and the bad of fats on this channel. So please go back and watch that video, and you'll get much more highly informed about what the bad fats do to the body, and what the nutritional superior, unaltered whole food fats do for the body. So the high-fat dietary patterns was found, that they had a high glycemic load, which means too much blood sugar, and they were producing loads of insulin from the pancreas. It was working overtime trying to get that dangerous blood sugar out of the blood sugar. But after a while, it leads to these patterns where the body cannot take that blood sugar out, and it'll quickly convert it to body fat. It'll if the wrong fats are being eaten, then it forms plaques in the arteries and the microcapillaries, the microcirculation, both in the brain and throughout the body, in different organs, and also the blood vessels. So this is a very dangerous situation when people eat the wrong fats. So this is what one of the major causes, or the correlations, I should say. The scientists have found the cause, or the association with, right? And I also have found that correlation. Okay, so there's been an increase in these amyloid beta peptides deposits, leading to inflammation and plaque buildups. Increase other biomarkers of neurodegeneration. So when someone goes and gets laboratory tests, through their medical people, their tests come back and it shows all of these different values, these numbers, and they compare them to what they found in the patient versus what the normal number ranges are. So these markers are very, very important for determining what the problem is. So when they go have these markers and it shows that there's a lot of inflammatory proteins in the system, then it usually points to some kind of degenerative problem. In this case, certain biomarkers will let them know that it's because of the nerves degenerating in the, it could be the entire nervous system, or it could be concentrated in the brain, things like that. So after metabolic health, by reducing cerebral perfusion, that means blood flow to the brain, which impairs cognition. So anytime you don't have enough blood coming to the brain, you're starving your brain of oxygen and nutrient delivery, which maintains all of the cells, throughout the body, including the brain. So here's a photo, or a diagram, I should say, an image of what these amyloid beta peptides do. The peptides are small proteins that initiate the inflammatory immune response. So we have the immune system trying to go in there and take these very dense plaques apart, but it may not always succeed. If the problem is rapidly forming more than the immune system can dissolve them, then that's definitely a problem. So these are nerve cells here, and they're just connected. We've got multiple trillions of nerve cells, obviously, that we can detect through our feelings, and to spark the actions of all of our cells that compose all of our body systems, which is our organs and structures and functions, and the proteins like the enzymes that the body produces, and the hormones, things like that. So our bodies are always very busy, right? So a blow up of these microscopic nerve cells, as you can see, these dendrites here at the end, they're always going to branch out and connect to, more and more nerves. So here we have the amyloid beta plaques forming in the red here. It kind of scrambled them to make them look like, stoppages. So this is obviously blocking the nerve transmission signals from one place in the body to another. And if they are blocking blood vessels, then there's going to be strokes and heart attacks and all kinds of things like that. But if they're building up and they are just destroying the nerve cells, because plaques like these will destroy these this section of the nerve cells. So then the nerve cell dies, and then you have less and less nerves to communicate with the rest of the body, interactive that way. So here's an actual electron micrograph, what they actually look like in the tissues. So they can morph, into more solid forms like this, which are more dangerous, and these are bad enough. But when they start rearranging themselves and forming these major blockages, we're looking at 200 micrometers, so they're very, very tiny, but it's still enough to cause major damage in the tissues. Here's another one. I like images, as you can tell. This might give you an easier idea of just what happens. So according to the key, these little beige, cylinder-like things that are everywhere, they're in the outside of the cell. Now, this is a cell, right? We've got the nucleus, and we've got the DNA and the protein manufacturing sites, the Golgi apparatus and the endoplasmic reticulum and the energy producing mitochondria, things like that. And there's a lot going on in the cell. This is a very simplified version, just so people get an idea of what's happening here. So now we've got all kinds of things that are going on inside the cell as well. So these little brown dots here are actually the plaques that are forming inside the cell too. So they're obstructing the activities that go on that keep us alive, right? Information, forming new proteins in the body, forming new cells, all that is going on in the inside of a cell. And this is an even more detailed, just to give you an idea of, this is the cell membrane, right? And as things, nutrients arrive, or toxic chemicals, or these plaques that form are arriving at the cell membrane, then they can do damage at the cell membrane. Nutrients will be allowed right through that cell membrane and do the work inside of our cells to keep us going. But as far as something that are these plaques, if they arrive, like here's a plaque, and they're showing how it's arriving on the cell membrane and just destroying the cell receptor sites, this information that allows things inside the cell or doesn't, right? But if it's going to destroy this, even one small section of the cell, then it's going to break open that cell, and all of its contents are going to be exposed, and the immune system has no choice but to destroy the inner contents of the cells. All right, so a lot goes on. We put something in our body, and we really have to stop to think, what's going on? What is this going to do to my body, especially in the long term? So a preventive, nutrient-balanced, healthy diet has been shown to be nerve protective. It reduces what they call oxidative stress. So how well does the body handle this kind of damage, and how well does the immune system come in and take care of it? Also, a healthy diet has been known to reduce inflammation. This whole array of essential nutrients that science has discovered about what these essential nutrients do for us in our bodies. Especially in the mild early stages of Alzheimer's, a high consumption of enzyme-active fresh fruits and berries, leafy greens and herbs, a variety of dark green, yellow, and other vegetables, and whole grains and beans and legumes, all these different, like the rices, all these grains, all these wonderful foods that are full of nutrient value, especially the organic foods, because they are higher in minerals. They're so essential in all of these biological processes. at the cell level, minerals and vitamins and these phytochemical compounds that all of these foods have. There are thousands upon thousands of these wonderful compounds that have been known to be so anti-inflammatory and protective, aiding the immune system, helping the body detoxify, just so many things that aid in energy production. You know, there's so many things. So, so yeah, these foods are extremely important, you know, because they are high in the essential minerals. And that means the potassium, the calcium, magnesium. They're high in fiber, the different types of fibers that are so important for keeping our systems clean and keeping the heart healthy. So all of these were shown to improve cerebral perfusion. Okay, so now the omega-3 fatty acids, these are the certain kinds of beneficial fats that are found in raw nuts and seeds and certain fruits, you know, like avocados, apricots, the oily type of fruits. They're high in these wonderful omega-3 essential fatty acids. There's two different kinds that they're talking about here. One is the docosahexaenoic acid, or DHA, and that's critical for brain and eye tissue development. And, you know, people can get strokes in the eyes as well, right? So then we have the icosapentaenoic acid, which is shortened as EPA. That's vital for its effects as anti-inflammatories on blood clotting and maintaining proper triglyceride levels in the blood. So when you eat fats or when you eat too many sugars, the body quickly converts them to fats. That's the safest way, because that way the body can store it and not affect how your brain is functioning. You know, you don't want excess sugar in the blood, so right away your body just converts it to fat. So the first step in that conversion are triglycerides. So when you are, you know, when the medical people take your blood samples or whatnot, and your laboratory tests come back, then the marker of, you know, triglyceride levels is there in the report. So the number of triglyceride levels are normal to a certain point, but if there's excess, then that's going to be a health problem. So also the B complex vitamins, each individual B vitamin in these whole foods are a whole complex in itself. So taking B complex supplements don't necessarily translate in the body the same way a whole food, a highly nourishing food that's grown in nutrient-rich soils, right? An ecologically balanced ecology and not sprayed with pesticides, right? So we have these B complex vitamins that are formed while the plant is growing and absorbing sun energy and transforming them into these vitamins. So, you know, those B complex vitamins are very, very important for the nervous system, and also the omega-3 fatty acids, as well as animal fats. Animal fats have been given such a bad rap. There is a video on this channel, Good Fats and Bad Fats. Please watch that video. You'll be so amazed. All right, so vitamin E and the carotenoid phytochemicals. So we all know carrots have, you know, carotenoid, right, in it. But there are so many other plants that have these wonderful carotenoids, chemicals in them. They call them phytochemicals, you know, that's more of a scientific reference, but they're also known as phytonutrients. So vitamin E and the carotenoid phytochemicals contained in many whole plant foods help improve memory and mood. So all of these are nourishing our nerve cells. So the above nutrients have been shown to improve cognitive decline and functional connectivity between separate brain regions, the left brain and the right brain, and they've been shown to improve any kind of brain atrophy. Studies indicate that the beneficial effects of the above nutrients are significant in mild to moderate stages of Alzheimer's. Those with Alzheimer's have been found to have higher serum, saturated, and trans fatty acid concentrations than the general population. So when they say saturated fat, they're not always necessarily talking about the healthy animal fats. So not that you should turn around and switch over to eating too many animal fats, because that can upset the hormonal and other types of balances in the body as well. Everything should be eaten in the right proportions. The general, you know, dietary guidelines by the government will give you the right proportions, you know, just so many fats per day, so many whole food carbohydrates. Notice I throw in the word whole food carbohydrates because the government doesn't. That's so very important. You don't want to eat refined foods because that's going to cause the same kind of issues. Alrighty, so where was I? Okay, yeah, trans fatty acids, those with Alzheimer's have been found to have higher serum saturated and trans fatty acid concentrations than the general population. So yeah, you have to balance the right types of fats. And again, if you haven't watched that video on this channel, please do watch that. Then you'll be totally very highly informed about the right types of fats and the wrong types of fats and how to protect your nervous system and prevent Alzheimer's and dementia and all these other things, right? All right, so the gut-brain axis, now that's something that has been a bit more out in the news, so to speak, because we have the gut environment or the colon environment that houses beneficial bacteria that actually communicate via this nerve. It's like a highway that goes from the gut to the brain, from the brain to the gut. So this neurotransmission information is happening in the gut with this live beneficial oxygen-loving or aerobic bacteria that the gut has to, if the body is healthy, then you're going to have a healthy amount of this gut bacteria in there, just to keep things healthy in the gut. If you take in a bacteria that is illness causing, then those are not oxygen-loving bacteria. They're called anaerobic bacteria, and they can cause all kinds of health issues. So we've got a battle of the bacteria going on in the guts, if you're ill, but also this information is releasing via this vagus nerve that goes straight up to the brain, and it's telling the brain what's happening, right? So this highway of information is extremely important. I do have a video on this channel on this very subject, and I hope you go to it and take a look at it. You'll be fascinated. Okay, so we have to maintain the right gut microbiota, the right bacteria, and that's been shown to have altered microbiota in the gut that resulted in inflammatory conditions that affected cognitive function and increased risk of neurodegeneration. So if you don't have the right environment in that gut, then you're a likely candidate, to have some kind of nerve degeneration and affecting the functioning of your brain. This means learning and behavior and thinking and, all these things. So there's a probiotic supplementation that's, like yogurt, anything that has live active cultures. Don't buy the sugary kind, buy the plain one and sweeten it with the own natural, sweeteners like raw organic honey or something. Again, there's another video that I've done on that in this very channel. So have fun, everyone out there viewing these videos. So we have probiotic supplementation. It's found to improve these metabolic abnormalities, attenuate inflammation, and oxidative stress. That means it occurs when the production of damaging, unstable ROS molecules, these are molecules that the body produces under stress, when that exceeds the body's ability to neutralize them with antioxidants. So it's important to take in all these foods that battle all of this raging inflammation that happens under the wrong circumstances, right? So these phytochemical compounds in these wonderful foods are full of what they're called antioxidants. So they reverse or attenuate or they help the immune system destroy whatever's causing this inflammation or inflammatory response. So a deficiency of omega-3s, they're also called PUFAs, you probably have seen that out there in the supplement world, helps to prevent neurotoxicity caused by an altered microbiota in the gut that affects central nervous system functioning. It may improve cognitive functioning and instant memory recovery in Alzheimer's patients. I love the way the scientists use the word may, as if they're not sure. But their work is very, very compelling when they present their scientific evidence and they present their clinical research results, in both animal and human subjects. And this occurs over time. It's not like one group of scientists have concluded something and another group of scientists have opposed it, right? But scientists are always very careful. They know that the more knowledge they have, something may change in what they present later, kind of thing. But this is pretty well established. This has been going on. This kind of research has been going on for years and years and years. So we know pretty much by now, the effects, the positive effects of a good diet and what it does for those victims who have fallen to this kind of illness. So according to the scientists, I'm not making any medical claims now, according to the scientific research, years and years of research, it looks very, very likely, that these correlations of a good diet, and I'll introduce something else too that is even more proof that Alzheimer's has been reversed in these clinical studies. And as someone who has, prepared these healing protocols, I call them nutritional healing protocols, for my clients for 45 years, I have seen the reversals too, including in my own father. When I put him on a nutritional, protocol, he, started telling me, I'm remembering things that I had forgotten about for years. And he seemed much more alert. And so he managed to avert that road, toward ultimate dementia. Okay, so now lower plasma levels than the general population of the plant phytonutrients, like the carotenoids. There's this huge classifications of these phytochemical compounds that are found in these wonderful botanicals. My book, Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health, I'll show you it at the end of this presentation, has 109 scientific monographs on 109 botanicals, and it lists a whole database of all of these wonderful phytochemical compounds that are in these plants and what they do in the body. It's really exciting. All right, so now the vitamins A, C, and E and uric acid were found in Alzheimer's patients. So, we've got to put these nutrients in there and see what the progress is. So one clinical study found that the greater a vitamin D deficiency was, the more it was associated with the development of dementia and Alzheimer's. Conversely, when serum concentrations, that's the blood concentration, the blood serum part of it, of vitamin D increased, the risk of dementia decreased. All right, so that is a very, very exciting piece of information there. Another study found that vitamin D supplementation for at least 12 months produced significant positive results in Alzheimer's cognitive parameters, such as improved cognitive function and the amyloid beta peptide-related biomarkers. All right, so let's talk about cerebrovascular function, the blood vessels in the brain. In early stages of dementia, the phytonutrient resveratrol, which is found in grapes and berries, an inflammatory enzyme inhibitor, was found to improve brain vascularity, the structure and the flexibility and the strength of the blood vessels in the brain, and reduce risk of developing dementia by helping to reduce amyloid beta accumulations. It improved nerve functions by reducing that nerve inflammation. It improved inflammation levels throughout the whole system. It aided in promoting cognition, ability to think and perceive. A systemic scientific review on green tea found that it reduced the risk of dementia, Alzheimer's, and cognitive decline. Speaking of green tea, I'm going to have me a little swig here. This is actually a mixture of multiple different botanicals, but green tea is a major component of it. All right, so a systematic scientific review on green tea found that it reduced the risk of dementia, Alzheimer's, and cognitive decline, to repeat myself here. A diet high in refined carbohydrates or foodstuffs rated high on the glycemic index. I don't know if you've heard of the glycemic index, but it's a classification, a way of classifying carbohydrate foods based on how they affect the blood sugar levels. So people who are in sugar-restricted diets, like say diabetes, then they pay attention to a food that where it falls on this glycemic index chart. So it's been shown to increase the amyloid beta peptides in the brain, with the risk factor worsened in those with insulin resistance. So those whose bodies will not take up the blood sugar out of the bloodstream, and that can be very dangerous. So that's why, they have to be under doctor's care for that condition. But yeah, anytime you have refined carbohydrates, white sugar, white flour, white rice, any kind of grain that's been refined, the heck out of it, all of these things they don't have the nutrients left in them. So the body's just looking at it like pure sugar, and it goes to work trying to get that sugar out of the bloodstream as fast as possible. So if a person is always eating foods like this, then they're going to start having some real blood sugar problems. Not only that, but they're going to have some, with the lack of fiber, you can imagine how stopped up they must be. And that blocks the circulation as well. So everything cascades, right? Everything interacts. So everything affects the other. So now I'm going to talk about this particular enzyme that I found years and years ago. And people have been using this enzyme for decades. And when I first started researching it about 30 years ago, there was a lot of scientific research on it. But I noticed over the years, a lot of that research has been removed. And so I'm hoping that it will start getting put back into the scientific databases, like the National Institutes of Health. That's always a huge database of many, many thousands of scientific journals with even more. You can imagine how many scientific research studies are reported in these thousands of journals. So, and we're just talking about the the human health genre, right? So science, of course, covers other areas and other types of science, but in the nutritional science arena, there are thousands of journals and multiple thousands of published articles. The trick is to make sure you know the difference between a non-credible scientific research report and a very, very credible one. And that's why peer-reviewed studies are so important, because you have a panel of highly qualified scholars and experts and with objectivity, looking at the many different scientific research studies and pulling out only the ones that are the most credible. Those are the only ones that I always look at, and they're called peer reviews. Okay, so let's talk about the serapeptase. Now, that's the kind of a brand name that many supplements are sold as, but it's actually about the enzyme called serratiopeptidase. Anytime you have a word that ends with ASE, that's normally some kind of enzyme. So they call this a systemic enzyme because it's not just a digestive enzyme. It actually aids the body's own enzymes in all of the catalytic work that they do. They spark one function at the cell level to another. It's a constant ongoing thing. So we have many enzymes in the body, but we also need to take in the raw food enzymes from the whole foods. But this particular type of enzyme, I'll tell you where they get it from, and you'll be either horrified or amazed. It's manufactured now on a very large scale, because over time it's been used medically and throughout the world. So it's become very, very useful. All right, just so you know that beforehand, before I go into this. So the serratiopeptidase enzyme was first used for its anti-inflammatory effects in Japan in 1957. I was only 3 years old. Evidence shows that serrapeptase helps reduce arterial plaques by breaking down fibrin and other non-living tissue. So when your body does its cleanup work, it's going to get rid of all the cellular debris, cells that are died off, and their inners are just like circulating, and they're just like debris so the immune system comes in and dissolves it, gets rid of it, and helps the body eliminate them, right? So there's this thing called fibrin, though, that when you get injured and when there's rampant inflammation in the body from all kinds of causes, I've only mentioned a few tonight, then a sort of scarring takes place at the very microscopic level. And this fibrin is a kind of protein. And what its job is just to try to repair some damage, right? So if there's a damaged tissue or damaged cell, then the fibrin forms and it will help strengthen where the injury was before. So it's a kind of scarring at the micro level, other non-living tissue like I talked about. So now we've got this fibrin, right? So fibrinogen is a protein produced by the liver, and fibrinogen is converted to fibrin, and it's essential for blood clotting to stop bleeding and helps with wound healing. Fibrinogen levels rise during inflammation, pregnancy, certain cancers, and are a risk factor for cardiovascular diseases. So we don't want that fibrin with trying to repair damaged blood vessels. It'll form an obstruction, and that's what leads to strokes and heart attacks, right? Or dementia. So serrapeptase has these fibrinolytic or clot dissolving actions, as well as it digests this. Another name for it is biofilm, or fatty deposits, sometimes cholesterol, and cellular waste products that form plaques. Okay, so they're known to break down the components and remove deposits of this atherosclerotic plaque from within the arteries, dead or damaged tissue, and fibrin. So serrapeptase enzyme is extremely important for removing those dangerous obstructions. Research shows that serrapeptase is a protease, meaning it's a protein enzyme that has proteolytic properties. Anytime you see the word lytic, means it's splitting it apart, breaking it down. So it'll break down, anything that is obstructing circulation. Protease, it's an enzyme that breaks down complex proteins into smaller peptides and amino acids. So amino acids are the basic fundamental components that when your body needs to build a new protein, then it'll break things down to get those amino acids from the foods we eat, or even its own tissues sometimes. If you're not well nourished, it'll in its hierarchy of needs, in its priority system, it will break down living tissue in your body just to grab amino acids to build a new protein, say, more brain cells or something more dire in the more critical organs like the liver and the kidneys. So your body's always looking at its priorities to see what it needs to do to conserve itself or save you, keep you alive. So we've got proteolytic enzymes. They're critical for digestion. They're wound healing, immune cell activation, and regulation for fighting infections, cell growth and development. So these proteases are very, very busy all of the time. So proteolytic enzymes have been used therapeutically for various conditions like pancreatitis, Crohn's disease, that's the inflammatory bowel or digestive tract problems, wound healing, inflammation, and autoimmunity. So autoimmunity is when the immune system, a person that isn't highly nourished, the immune system starts breaking down too. It has its own DNA as well. So that information is confusing the heck out of those poor little immune cells that come in and are supposed to clean up and protect and attenuate the inflammation when there's damage, and reduce that inflammation when the damage has been healed. But when someone has autoimmunity, it doesn't know the difference between something that's already been healed and something that needs to continually produce that inflammation and self-consumption of its own tissue. So autoimmunity is very dangerous. But these proteolytic enzymes from the serrapeptase enzyme have been used successfully to help attenuate that problem. There are other ways to help with autoimmunity too, but that's another subject on another video. Okay, so important considerations. Serrapeptase is a natural proteolytic enzyme and should not be considered a replacement for conventional medical treatments for atherosclerosis. Okay, even though the scientific researchers have found it very, very useful for that very thing, a person should not take any chances. Always see your physician and make sure that they understand what the serrapeptase does. I've had a couple of doctors in the past start implementing serrapeptase in their practices. So when they see the science and they see the logic behind it and they see the proof, then they start, using it also. And it's used in hospitals, it's used in the medical system. So this is something that you might want to tell your doctor about. There's scientific research, scientific evidence in this very, very document. Okay, so always consult with a healthcare professional before using serrapeptase or any other supplement to manage health conditions like atherosclerosis. Okay, and I got that from AI. I just put in the question. Sometimes AI is wrong based on my experience. It contradicts what what I found over the years, what the science says. But AI is like a student. It's learning. It's gathering data all the time, and it's getting larger and larger by the minute. But sometimes it gathers the wrong information. And so, there's a lot of work to be done in the AI arena as well. But anyhow, sometimes, when you want a quick answer, then it's correct. You can verify it too. You can verify the answer in, the usual way when you do something, search for something on the internet. Okay, so enzyme therapeutics. Now, enzymes are an essential part of most metabolic and cellular processes in the human body. They control digestion, metabolism, immune functions, reproduction, respiration, even your breathing, or even how your cells breathe. They take in oxygen, they let out carbon dioxide and other metabolic wastes so that they respire as much as our lungs do. They're obtained from plant, animal, and microbial sources. Are used in clinical practices in the treatment and management of many diseases and disorders. Enzymes are also used, inflammation is the body's defense mechanism against injury and infection. So as a cleaning and clearing process, the body's rapid immune response to any foreign substance and or tissue injuries mobilizes inflammatory mediators to a target site. All right, so anytime the body detects, the nervous system is at work, and the hormonal system, they're all working together to patrol the whole body to make sure everything is working properly. But when they detect an injury, then the immune forces come in, they're mobilized, they send in the troops and they send in to analyze the situation and, either fix it or whatever it deems necessary to return the body back to balance. So the immune response under normal conditions returns the body's biochemistry to homeostasis or calm metabolic functioning. So serrapeptase is an anti-inflammatory agent. Inflammation may be acute or chronic. Acute inflammation is a protective measure against injury or infection. However, if the inflammatory response is not resolved, it leads to chronic inflammation, like arthritis, different forms of arthritis, bronchitis, fibrocystic breast disease, carpal tunnel syndrome, and many other inflammatory conditions. So enzyme therapeutics are growing in popularity and attention due to their efficiency and safety profiles. I just did a couple of videos, one on the NSAIDs and the other one on acetaminophen. So you want to take a look at those videos and the horrific side effects that the scientific research data shows about them. The enzyme therapeutics are much safer, they're finding. So conventional anti-inflammatory drugs such as NSAIDs and other drugs are commonly applied in combination for battling acute inflammation. So the medical system, they're still applying, they're not only using enzyme therapeutics, but they're also applying these drugs as well. And, you know, after looking at those videos on this channel, you'll wish they didn't. All right, so steroidal drugs in combination with NSAIDs are used to treat chronic inflammation. The enormous reported limitations of these drugs have spurred research for other possible treatments for inflammation. They term natural molecules, and they're nothing more than the enzyme active, fresh, raw plant foods, right? Those are natural molecules, they're unaltered. Enzyme-based drugs. So, they're starting to implement more of these enzymes into their medical systems. Along with other enzymes such as trypsin, chymotrypsin, papain, and bromelain, these are nutritional derived, nutrient derived, or whole food derived enzymes. Like the papain, you get that from papaya, and bromelain, you get that from pineapple. So all these other types of enzymes that are present in our natural foods. So along with these enzymes, then the serratiopeptidase is widely used for its proteolytic properties. It eats up scar tissue. The other enzymes don't, they just aid the digestive process. But this particular systemic enzyme will go through and the immune system recognizes it immediately and understands it and allows it to just eat up the scarring, eat up the clogs, and eat up the plaques, things like that. But it will not harm healthy tissues. That's a very well-established fact that I've made sure over the years that it does not do that. So it's used in so many therapeutic applications like surgery and orthopedics and otorhino, laryngology, okay, so having to do with the nose and nose and ears, and dentistry. So it's anti-inflammatory, anti-edemic. It does not allow any swelling of the tissues, or if there is swelling, then it'll go through and help attenuate that, help the body dissipate that extra liquid or fluid that gathers outside of the cells. Water is very important. Fluid is very important. It carries nutrients and oxygen. So we do need an inflow of water or fluids inside of our cells, but we also, during the respiration process or detox process, we need to allow those spent molecules or spent water out of the cells as well. But when they collect in between the cells, that's when we have the swelling, the edema. So that helps with that as well. It's also an analgesic. Because it reduces inflammation, it's going to reduce pain. And so it's known as an analgesic as well. Other researchers and clinicians have found serratiopeptidase to be helpful with other health conditions. More and more things. I don't know if you're tired of this by now, but I sure am not. This is so exciting. Look at all the things that it does. It helps with thickened blood. So if you have thicker blood, that means you're dehydrated. It becomes thick as ketchup. How is it going to pulse through your entire circulatory system and into the microcirculation of your brain if you are dehydrated and your blood is too thick? So you need a certain viscosity. So drink plenty of water. Other beverages will not ultimately hydrate you. They will ultimately leave you dehydrated because of the water extraction, and then you're left with the other solutes that are left, in the substance. So you want a certain normal viscosity in the blood, but if your blood gets too thick, the researchers have found that they can apply the enzymes to kind of reduce that. So also risk of stroke, anyone who is at risk for stroke, and also thrombophlebitis. It's a blood clot that forms and blocks veins in the legs. breast disease. That's very, there's a lot of research on serratio for breast disease, sinusitis, hepatitis, anything that's inflaming the liver, lung conditions, uterine fibroids, found to be as effective as nattokinase. It's another enzyme known to degrade abnormal proteins called the amyloids that form in uterine fibroids. So this type of enzyme is very important for anything that's inflaming the body and in obviously every body system. So these proteases are called serine proteases, and they're well known to function in the brain. Some are critical for neural development, brain plasticity, and that means the brain is adaptive, what its adaptive capacity is to its environment, and neurodegeneration or nerve degeneration. Excuse me, neuroregeneration, regenerating the nerves. So serrapeptase is a serine protease derived from this non-pathogenic enterobacteria known as Serratia E15. So I'll just read on. In the 1960s, scientists isolated the bacteria from the intestines of silkworms. So that's where they got the original serratiopeptidase enzyme from silkworms. But that became a problem the more popular it became throughout the world. So they extracted that bacteria and just grew it, in cell cultures. And that's how they keep generating this enzyme for the world to benefit from. And they call it the Serratia E15 because it was an enzyme or bacteria from the intestines. So in its natural environment, the enzyme produced by the intestinal bacteria helps the emerging moth dissolve its cocoon. So this is a very, very strong enzyme that the moth, just regurgitates and eats its way out of its own cocoon. The cocoon is made out of silk, which is the most powerful or strong natural fiber in the world. So it's pretty good to have an enzyme to be able to dig yourself out of your own, cocoon. So the enzyme nattokinase is also, I said that, didn't I? Oh, also serine protease derived from the bacteria Bacillus subtilis. And that's shown to have beneficial anti-amyloidogenic effects. So it kills those amyloid beta, plaques against Alzheimer's disease. Alrighty, so you're learning all about the enzymes and what it does to dissolve those very dangerous, deadly plaques that form in the brains of those with these conditions. So here's the last bit here, botanicals. So here are some botanicals that are both in my Potent Superfoods book, and also these set of researchers made a nice chart for us to look at. So the ashwagandha root, so they have done all types of studies on it, both in the laboratory and growing cell cultures, and also in vivo, meaning live subjects, animal and human subjects, and also clinical studies. So that's human subject studies as well. So, it's has all these functions. This particular botanical is an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. It blocks the AB production, right? The amyloid beta production. It inhibits the nerve cell death and the dendrites extensions. I show you the photograph or the image of the dendrites and the neurite outgrowth, and restores synaptic function. So between every nerve is a synapse, and there's this little microscopic gap. And as this electrical conductivity happens from one nerve to another, this communication transmission happens, it jumps that gap. And so if that function has been obstructed, then of course our nerves can't talk to each other, right? But the ashwagandha has been found to restore that synaptic connection. Neural regeneration, it helps rebuild the damaged nerves, reverses mitochondrial dysfunction, improves auditory verbal working memory, executive function, processing speed, and social cognition in patients. That's just one botanical, everyone. So, as you can see here, if you're a member, of course, you have access to this PDF document in the member area of the True Health Master Institute membership area. And so those of you who are not Institute members, then you have the benefit of viewing this video here on the YouTube channel. Okay, so Brahmi is also the scientific name for it is Bacopa monnieri, which is more familiar to me. But again, look at all these different types of studies that have been done on these botanicals. And as you can see, they all are geared toward, these botanicals are geared for finding out what exactly happened during their studies on dementia, right? And what botanicals work. I'm reconnecting my computer here. I forgot to plug it in. Okay, cat's claw also, ginkgo biloba. Some of you might be familiar with some of these herbs. I mean, ginkgo biloba, it stimulates cerebral blood flow. It blocks nerve cell death, and it stimulates new nerve development, right? Gotu kola, you know, lion's mane, that's a super mushroom. It protects the nerves and improves how the brain works, improves cognition. All of these are anti-inflammatory. And another one, it blocks the amyloid beta production, stimulates nerve transmission and new growth in the nerves. Saffron, shank pushpi, these botanicals from around the world, really. Triphala and turmeric. Turmeric, people know turmeric, right? It's an excellent, excellent superfood as well. So again, it blocks the amyloid beta production. So it's going, with these foods in your diet, you're going to have much more clear blood vessels, much more nutrient oxygenation delivery, much more healthy, strong, flexible blood vessels so they're not prone to damage. So all of these wonderful foods, and these are just a handful of foods, and these are just what this group of scientists here led by Gregory back in 2021 have found about these and what they can do for your nervous system and for the brain. So as usual, I always list my references here, and these are the different scientific references. I always back myself up with the best peer-reviewed studies out there, and here they are. Now, the Potent Superfoods book that I wrote is 109 botanicals, has a phytochemical phytonutrient database in it. It has a dictionary, encyclopedia, hybrid section in it. It's a very thick book, 631 pages, I believe, but it also has the scientific research data on all of these different wonderful botanicals, and you'll know all of that these botanicals do for the body, and they just address so many different body systems. They help heal, they help regenerate, they help detoxify. They're so amazing. So they're right in front of us, all over. They're grown everywhere, and they're in nature. So we have to really, truly learn what they do for us in the body. They'll truly keep your brain working and won't allow your body to degenerate and age so quickly. All right. I have other books, Nutritional Synergy. That's the nutritional system that I developed, and I've been using that and applying that for my clients for 45 years or more. I hate to admit it now, I just stick with the number 45, but it's been more than that. But anyway, my own nutritional synergy system has worked for my clients because it's so versatile, and you get to choose beautiful, healthy foods and combine them so that your body's totally nourished. It's a very, very informative book. If you're eager to lose some body fat and maintain your lean, very healthy, important lean body mass. We're made out of protein. We have to maintain all of our cells and tissues, and everything's made out of protein. So we have to maintain our muscles as well so that we can be strong and maintain our circulation and keep up our metabolism and keep our blood vessels flushed and clear, kind of thing. So Eating for Physical Power and Stamina is another book for people who are interested in that. My True Health Mastery book is the first book I ever wrote, and it's just pretty much an introductory book, a primer, showing you my system and what you should and shouldn't do to protect your health or to not allow anything to harm you, that kind of thing. It's a really informative, nice little read. And also I created a small booklet for how to select the right supplements and how to look at ingredients to make sure you're choosing the right supplements. All right, so again, please subscribe and like and share this information. It's life-saving. People are desperate for it out there. And so I'd really like to get this word out. If you could help do that out there, I would certainly appreciate it. All righty, so yeah, if you want to become a member of the True Health Mastery Institute, I'll click on this link here and show you where to do that. Okay, so here's my website, holisticchoices.com, and this link right here, True Health Mastery Institute, it's already there. I queued it up already. So we have it'll describe everything, all the benefits you get as a member. I pay close attention to my members' needs, and I respond to their needs. and answer their questions. And even after this video is turned off, we have great conversations, more questions are answered. We we look up things, to get more information. So it's very, very valuable to be a member. For $12.97 a month, it's not a bad deal at all, because you'll be so much more knowledgeable. You'll bypass all the misinformation out there, the propaganda that's confusing everyone. You'll get the actual scientific research and 45 years of experience. Okay, so now you can just scroll down, and here is the Join Here button. You just click on that, and it'll take you to the True Health Mastery Institute membership. You just select that and go through the payment processing. It's very simple. And then if you want to take my online course, it goes with the Nutritional Synergy book. If you take both, then you'll know more than any doctor in the world about nutrition and how to nourish your body and prevent all sorts of health issues that way. So if you want to take the course, and I recommend you get the book as well. You can take the course without reading the book, or you can read the book without taking the course, but it's much more beneficial if you do both, right? Okay, so that's pretty much it, what I wanted to share with everyone. All righty. So again, thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you new people here visiting us tonight. And I wish everyone true health and just have a great weekend. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hold on, members. Stay here, members. Don't go away.